All right, now I should be live. Had one little step extra to go into that I didn't realize was there. I'm sitting here talking for a minute, then it should be starting, and it should be starting. I'm waiting for my YouTube to pop up. There it is, so I can mute it, and we don't get any looping feedback. How's everyone doing this morning? Hope you're well. This is a late one for me last night. I crashed off, I don't know, 2:30, quarter to 3. Got off of the alarm. Didn't quite get up at the alarm, but 20 minutes later, finally crawled out. Went out and got all the animals fed and happy, and then turned around and did a few other things. But I figured it's time to get on this optic setup. Now, before I can do a test drive or anything, I've got to solder the motor wires to the ESC. So I've got a Weller soldering gun. It works pretty decently, but it's not the best. I've been having a little quirks and having some problems getting a little bit of the solder working well. So I went ahead and ordered a Yuha, Yihua, Yihua, something like that, off Amazon. It's coming overnight, so it'll be here tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, and I'll be able to solder the wires up. It's a soldering station, so it's got a soldering gun on it, fully adjustable, 75 watts. A air gun on it, so it can get the hot air for doing your shrink wraps and everything else. So overall, it wasn't a bad deal. I needed a decent soldering station. Like I've been fighting with the Wellers, just the soldering irons for a while. They work pretty good, but they're not great for all the stuff. So I said, okay, it's time to buy something good. So I looked at the Hacko, being just a soldering station, very well known, very high quality. But the UI was $10 less list price, 119 as opposed to 129. Comes with a bunch of stuff. Of course, has the air heat gun to it as well. And then now at Amazon, as of at least this morning, it had a $17 discount on it. So it was actually like 103, 102 out the door, free delivery, and that's overnight for me. It's I've got Prime membership, so it'll be here tomorrow at some point. So not too bad, but that's going to be then. But I have to modify the fuel cell because if you look, the fuel cell, will slide down in there, but it hits on the servo through the transfer or the shock travel. Sorry, still early. Shock travel, it stops it a little bit. So you got to modify or remove it. Some people are doing the drop beds, but even they are going to get somewhat in the area because you don't have too much room. There may be, let me take a look here, or maybe 10 millimeters, maybe from the top of this raw 800 low profile servo to the top area of the cage. So you're not going to get a lot of stuff in there like a drop bed without some modifications, and that's going to vary on your servo whether you got low profile or standard size. So I had this installed, and what I did when I was installed, I just had it installed, pushed the cage down, found out where it was hitting, and just took my marker and put a couple little marks. I'm going to go a little wider than that and try to open it up a smidge just to get a little better, well, to get the clearance I need to go. So what I'm going to do is I'll come up these sides here. Let me see over here a minute so I can see a little bit better. So I'm just going to cut up to this line here at the center where my paint's at, and then go back down a little wider than that to kind of open it up. And then we'll do a test fit and see how it fits. But got to modify this. If you're going to do rear steer, you need to have some room. So I'm going to get a light little trim here. Okay. I guess I'll take this one. Yeah, right out to the side of that fuel line. Just work the thing in and then work it down. Okay. Go in here a smidge. Try to see if I can get in it a little. Little straighter cut coming down here. Always gotta be careful working with a sharp knife. Especially on plastic, because if it's not too sharp, it'll slide right off the plastic. The plastic's really hard, it'll slide right off. And you'll end up with blade in finger or thumb or leg or somewhere else. So it's always good to make sure you got good control of your blades. Cut it once this way, and I should be able to just fold it back here. Oh, no, that's the one screw area. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more there. Okay, this is where the one screw comes in. That would mount to your cross beam here. You got to remove this because this also is in the way and hits on the servo even if you got her all the way back this way. You know, she just doesn't quite clear that servo because the wire comes out the backside. So let me try to slip that in there just to get a view. You know, so your actual mounts are kind of pointing upward, but yeah, your wire's in the way and everything, so you can't use the cross mount. So your lower part of your cage is going to be a little flexible. You just got to use the two back mounts, and I'll see if there's a way to mount it, maybe coming up with something here and catching the side of it, just kind of a cable clamp or something might work. So let's just kind of work through this. Get all the way through the screw spot. Slowly and rocking. There we go. Now we can just cut gently down to the rest of it because I don't want to cut past it. Okay. Now, see how I've got her cut. Not bad, but basically from the gas line here to about a 1/4 inch, a little bit better than a 1/4 inch, 6-7 millimeters on that edge. That should be enough to pass by. So when I get this back in here, it's mounted. Nope, it's got to come up higher. Got to come up higher. So we're going to be coming up in about another. Let's see where we're at here. Kind of see how it sets. Okay, so width-wise, make sure we're lined up to our holes, So width-wise, that's pretty good. Although when you get rocking and rolling, we'll probably have to kind of taper it anyways. And then I need to come up, another 1/4 inch almost. So it's a bit higher. So let's gently come down this side. Remove some of this side of the fuel line here. Get in there a little bit better. Go ahead and widen it out just a little bit more here. Go about 1 blade width depth, maybe a smidge more, not too much. Same thing here. Blade width depth, bit more. Spun a little bit, but that's all right. Not really gonna see that side anyways. Okay. There we go. Over the car door closed. Nope. At least not here. Might have been over at the neighbor's place sometimes. Sounds like it might be here. Okay. Gently cut down. Opening her up a little bit more. Come on now. Right, I gotta get through that spot. Yeah, we're cutting there. There we go. Now we're almost through it. Work through the screw spot again. All right. Go ahead and clean this up a smidge. Make it look a little bit straighter there. Okay. Clean that corner up just a little bit. Same with this line. It needs to be pretty close to right on over there. Right. See how much we got here. Okay, still gotta go a little bit more. It's still not deep enough. Do another 1/8 of an inch or so. I want to make sure I got enough room to have a little clearance over top of my servo. So if you got a full scale servo, a full size one, when you go with rear steer, you may need to remove the fuel cell almost right up to the top. You can see where I'm getting here. I'm going to be a 1/4 inch, a 1/3 of an inch, 7-8 millimeters maybe from the top of the cell low for my cut. So, and that's with the low profile 800 raw servo. So yeah, you may end up having to, if you're using a full scale, full size servo, you may end up having to go quite a ways up that cell to get your clearance. Work this through. Thing, it'll go fast. Luckily, I got it right in the corner and stopped. But I got it straighten up here. getting there. Still got a little bit to go. Okay, a little past the edge of the yellow. Trim it up a little bit more, clean up my edges here. Okay. I'll go ahead and clean up this edge a little bit. I could use a slight trim. Now let's take a peek, slip it in, slide it in place, hold her down. Nope, she still needs to come up a little bit more. You can see I've got her cut quite a bit out, and I still got to take off another 1/16 of an inch to not hit when she's at full compression. So yeah, she's a good little bit to cut. So yeah, if you're using a full size servo, you may even take out some of the top. Just FYI. Get a little better control of my knife here. That piece cut out. Now I should be able to take this down. Come at it from the other side. trim it from the other direction and get that servo area cleaner. There we go. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna clean this off over here where I got better sight and better control of my knife for now. Okay. That should work better, hopefully. Trim, 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 just a little bit at a time. Now, it seems to set lower, but gotta get her mounted here. Get screws in there at some point. Okay, I think that's good. We can put screws in there. Let's see. Yep, those are just 15 millimeters. So that should clear at this point. One here. One here. What I'll probably end up doing is actually replacing these with scale bolts once I know everything's good and it's going back together fully. I should have enough extra scale bolts to make it look good. Okay, you there, you here. Hey, Rocky Mountain Bashers, thank you. How you doing? Appreciate the sub. I'll see if I can. I try to sub back to everybody who subs to me. So let me take a peek here. I should be able to. Yeah, channel. No, don't want to do that. Oh, go to channel. There we go. Is that you? Is that your channel? That's your channel. Oh yeah, lots of fun stuff. Let's see. There it is. Rocky Mountain Bash. You're subscribed, sir. Thank you. All right. Now that I'm not running to the emergency room with a knife stuck in my fingers or leg or other bodily part, well, I guess I got. Actually, yeah. Yeah, I've got enough. That's enough. It's quite a bit of room. Not sure if it's going to be easy to see, but let me see here. There we go. It's got a nice. I cut an extra out, I guess, but without it being mounted, it was really hard to say for sure. So now, if I got that there, yeah, there's a good possibility of mounting this fuel cell in the front. I can see how I can do this right now. So if you do this, you can't run the bottom. You can't run the bottom cross support because that's right where servo is mounted here. In this area right up in here would be the cross support. Right there's the screw hole for it. Got to get in the right spot here on my camera. There's a screw hole for it. So yeah, that stuff's right in the way. But if we look, see if I can get a better view of it here. Our fuel cell top of our fuel cell, this side, right here on this edge. You can see my finger. See my finger right there. Right there. That's right next to the top of it's up here by your cross plate. So I'm thinking there might be a way to, yeah, there's a couple screw spots there, or a couple recess spots where screws, something screws up from the bottom. I don't think it's that, but I haven't got that far in the build. But there's a possibility we might be able to fashion a couple little L brackets and screw that to the front of the fuel cell, so the fuel cell is mounted solid. It ain't gonna bounce around on you. But that at least gets you total articulation and full travel suspension right until your bottom's right out. Oh yeah, it's when it bottoms out, I can see the bars hitting things, so it doesn't quite get the shocks down. So okay, it's so if I actually run that the other way, so I'm looking at these shock mounts. These are what's called overreach design now, rear shock mounts. The way they're set up, they've got an angled mount to match the angle of the rear cross brace here, right up in here. And it's got a peg in it. So the peg goes in one hole, then your screw goes in another. So right now I've got it set up so the shocks are, of course, mounted a little bit higher than where they would be if you screwed them to the cage, because they're supposed to spin sideways and the shock should screw right to the cage, less this metal mount. So giving you a dual capture. Short screws in there. So anyways, looking at that, you can flip those around and it will actually raise the ride height on the ass end a little bit. There's no option of really raising the ride height for the front as far as multiple shock areas, although it wouldn't be too hard to make up a front mount that would mount to the two shock positions and then give you some plates or screw holes lower, small aluminum kind of risers where you could get 6 millimeters and lift that front shock up a little bit for a little extra ride height. That could happen, because as you can see right now, it is kind of bottoming out on the cross brace and the hydro ram. It's kind of bumping right up against it. Try to get in here a little bit better like this, so you can see it's hitting right there. And then if you steer, of course, it's going to want to push up out of the way. So there is that to contend with. So going the other way, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to undo these, spin these around 180 degrees, have to flip them side to side actually, and then remount them up. Because I think we need to raise that, even though I really didn't want to raise the rear end that much more. I think that's going to be the smart way to go. So it is capable of working. Make it tight too that way. See how that works on the other side. So we'll put you here for the moment. Here. Pull these out. Okay, now I can undo the shocks in the rear. Okay, now I got, whoopsie, sorry about the noise. Peel this out. So Rocky Mountain, you must just be kind of getting up and around if you're still here. You're what, 2 hours behind me? I'm Central, or I'm sorry, Eastern Standard Time. If you're in the Rocky Mountains, I gotta imagine you're at least 1 hour, depending on where we're at in the Rockies, but 2 most likely. unless you're way off to the west, which might make you a Cali area 3. All right, so work this out. Screwdriver here. Okay, 1, 2. So like I was saying, they got a little peg that sticks up. That goes in the one hole, and then the other one goes in the other hole. So if that's like that, actually, maybe I did have them set up backwards from the get-go. So let me go ahead and get you in here. Actually, it looks like I did. Had them crossed. Didn't even realize it when I had them flipped the other way. Food for thought. All right, it's in the top hole, yeah, top hole. So that goes here. Oop. That's not the hole, actually. That could be made into a hole. You can drill that out, I guess, which will raise it, which may not be too bad. I don't want to, if I did that, I could raise these up a little bit and then use that spot. So that could work. So I'd have to drill that little hole out. It's indented like it was meant to be drilled out, but never was. So let me go ahead and see how much this raises it here. Get that in there. These are kind of a bear last night to get them to go in. The shocks into the dual mount. It was kind of a bear getting them lined up right away, or the right way. Okay, back and forth. Okay. You in here. Wiggle, wiggle, and push, and goes right in. Get lined up. I wondered about that last night. I'm looking at it, going, do I have those right? Look, doesn't look right. No, I was right. It wasn't. But it was 2 o'clock. I was tired and ready to call it the night anyways. All right, now put the shot back in here. That went in a lot nicer that, and I fought with these last night for a bit to get them to go in. Looks like they dropped just below the cage there to get in there. To kind of threading in. Yeah, right on. All right. Now let me flip this over. So if those mounted the right way, I probably took a little more off the fuel cell than I needed to, for sure now. But I don't mind the extra clearance. That's a hidden spot for the most part. You're not really going to see it. Come on now. Get up in there. You came out of there. You can go back in. I believe. Let's see. There it is. Gotta get those things lined up just right. Okay, now we go. There, she's almost right. Okay. Now let's go ahead and lower these rear springs and take all the preload or most of the preload off. All right. There we go. Now she's going down and the shocks are bottoming out. So now, with those on the right side installed correctly, I had them backwards. And you can see they even, fit the place better. Now I'm not hitting on the bottom. Got a lot of room there actually. And on your rear support here, you got this extra divot here that's solid, not drilled out, but there's a spot that could be drilled out. So I think what I'm probably going to do is drill that out. Our pin will slide into that spot and our screw will go into the hole that the pin's in, and that will raise it up, the shock mount up a little bit, and then drop our cage to it, but it still won't be on the axle. So that's something I'll take care of a little later. I did kind of want to throw that together, and because I didn't put this on last night, I decided, well, let's go ahead and get that installed. Let me back up here a few pages and see where our grill install was. Here yet. Right here next, I believe. It's the back stuff. There we go. So they've got that actually mounting through that hole, huh? All right. And that's supposed to go where? Okay. Goes into those holes, huh? All right, so I need these coarse thread by 10 millimeters. And they get the two in the bottom right now. So let me move my scales out of the way. The rest of my 10 millimeter courses, I thought I had a few. Oh, there we go. I'm still in here. Peel those out. Either one of these. Let's rid of 3 yet. No, not the 3. There we go. Yep, that should be it. Okay, it is 1.5. Okay, so Get you lined up here. One there. We'll get this open then. Let's see if I can zoom that out a little bit. It would definitely make it a little easier to view here. You. This is the YU or YRUCEC, but now called Overreach Designs. This is their 3D printed grill. Nice print, looks good. Bosses are nice. The insert parts are pretty decent. So that just kind of mounts right there. Fits right into where it should. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so no fuss, no muss, fit right in. I'll probably do headlights, but I'm unsure of what headlights I'm going to do. That ain't going to fit that. It's too small. The Mias headlights don't look bad. The H-Tech look nice, but with the H-Tech, you have to have the H-Tech servo bumper mount for the lights to fit properly without doing other stuff. You could, modify your plastic mount. So it says 3x10s, but I don't have any more 3x10s in. Yeah, it is showing coarse thread. Let me double check here. Okay. I had to have pretty much used them somewhere. I don't want to use super long ones. Maybe I used those where I should have used these, but okay, let me grab. I don't have any. Those that are 10s. A couple 12s there. So let me do this. Let me dig in my other bin here. I know I don't have any coarse threads, but I should have a couple M3s, 10 millimeters. I think that was 10s, okay. I got a couple cleaner ones maybe. I should have. That aren't stainless steel. I don't want to throw in stainless steel. There's a cleaner one. Plain one. Yeah, a couple cap heads would be nice. Oh, there's a nice clean one. A couple cap heads would be decent in there, but I think those ones will work. I've got plenty of other ones. But all right, I'll put those in. Get that in place. Boom. Oh, here again real quick. There we go. Well, these are just regular machine thread screws, and they're going in pretty nicely. Now, I want you to use the coarse. Just don't over tighten it. Nice and tight, snugged right up. You get this one in before I get too flaky in place. Get you in spot. Get those snugged in the rest of the way. Sure everything's placed right. Yeah, they did a nice job on the design and fitment of this front grille. There we go. Just tightening you up. Rock on. Looks pretty good. Now, what I might do is I got the chrome paint. That works pretty decently. That's what all this stuff is. It's still a little streaky, but it is what it is. I may take and airbrush it on. Use the airbrush and spray the grill so it just looks a little bit more uniform, a little bit more like it's twisted. Hey, Urban, how you doing, buddy? So it looks a little bit more evenly applied, looks a little bit more like a stamped or handmade, grill. So I'll probably take care of that detail in a while. So that takes care of that. That does the rear shock mounts, so they're properly done in place. And there ain't much left at the moment. Well, it would be nice to kind of get those in a different spot, though, as far as maybe lowering the front mount so they get a little bit, like, not lowering the front shock mount, but putting a plate on there so I can actually raise the cage up a few millimeters, kind of like it did in the back here. But I'm going to redo that, and that's going to drop the back down about 4 or 6 millimeters, quarter inch-ish, which will, set the ride height a little bit better. Again, setting a little high in the back at the moment. So once I redo those, that'll drop that down that quarter inch-ish, have 4 millimeters, 3-4 millimeters at least. So that'll be a little bit better. Putting the back of the cage a little bit more flat and square. Said if I can do something, just a couple mount plates that will kind of mimic the shape of this. 2 screws to hold it onto the cage, and then maybe 4 screws across the bottom in the wider part where you can get up a little bit and have different spots to mount your front shocks just a little bit. Get a little bit more straighter or a little bit more lean back, which would probably be the way to go, is get it set up so it leans back a little farther. But with these back shock mounts, the way they push down your mount about, I'm going to say 4 millimeters below the screw hole where your shock would normally screw into the cage on the back there. Get that a little bit better. Tomorrow I'll have a new soldering station, so I'll be able to solder my wires up, get one of my receivers. I got to figure out placement. No, I've got just the VFD in here. A lot of people are putting in the twin, but it takes up a lot of real estate back there. You've got your servo mount plate back here. You can't really see here too well because the cage is on, but there's a servo mount plate with a thing on it. You can put your ESC there, but if you've got a VFD twin or you need to place a mount other servo suck down winch or a winch, which is another winch spot up here actually. So if you wanted to put like a suck down winch up front, and then you can put a regular winch in the back, or if you got the VFD twin, you've got 3 spots for servos back here. So you could put your servos back there to shift for your twin shifters, but it eats up all your real estate and doesn't leave you a lot of room. I seen one guy I'm talking to on Facebook who did that, and he had to do a bunch of trimming to make room for the links and a few for the shifter links on the VFD twin up here, because it takes up your battery spot. So it ate into that side panel where his battery would normally go. So he had to use a smaller battery or try to find a different location for it, which again, there's not a lot of real estate here. It might be a good place actually on the passenger side if you could set it up, but not in the door plate. But I think he's got a light system that he's got put in there and a few other things. So he's all of his under interior real estate's kind of gone. He ain't got much left. So yeah, it really eats up his extra room. So if you're doing a VFD twin with both shifts, so you need the both shifting servos, you're going to eat up a whole bunch of real estate in the back area where your ESC and other electronics would normally be sitting or mounted. So food for thought, anybody doing it. If you're using the rear steer, you're going to lose the room in your fuel cell because the servo is going to get up in there. If you got a full scale servo, it's going to get up there even farther. So I know I said I'm going to wait to do that, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do it now. Because looking at this now, I've got this set up this way. I don't necessarily have to undo the shocks, which I won't be, would make it really tough because of bolt placement. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these back out. It's a little better line with my fins still installed. Take this off. Take this off. Move them out of the way. Unpop them out of the holes. So anybody getting the overreach design rear shock mounts, they come with two rear fins. Nice 3D printed fins. I mean, they're a nice solid fin. Single hole with a little wedge so it stops it from spinning. But I found that with the yellow ones, there's plenty of room around it. You just got to have the yellow ones off to generally put it together the first time. But I put it together backwards. So let me see. Where's my other screw right there? Yeah, that's what I wanted. Let me get in here and pop this puppy off. Come on. Get in there. Pop you out. Get in here and pop you out. Move you guys out the way. I probably will have to take off my fins here to do my drilling. That means you got to take fuel cell back out. Always the fun of first time building. So how you doing, Urban? You guys are up pretty late last night. I jumped over to my buddy's stream and we did our first simulcast like you guys did. That was kind of cool. He's over on the West Coast. I'm in Michigan, so it was a cross-continent kind of thing, mostly. Okay, so let me get these up out of here. And then see what drills I have in here. I know I got a 3mm, but I don't want to use a 3 on that. Well, maybe that might be a 3mm peg. Okay. Let me see. I've got a driver in there now. There it is. Is that 3mm? Yeah. Okay. 3mm she be. Move a little bit. Goodness, some hard ass plastic. Or I got a dull ass drill bit, which is probably the case. Let me see. Move you up so I can get a better look here. All right. We do one more removal. Give me a better drill approach. Take this back cross brace off the cage. Well, not off. I got to take the 25 millimeter bolts out and spin it downwards just so the top of it's out of the way. Now I'll be able to flex this plastic a little bit, get better drill angle. Oh, of course you do. There. Now. Okay. Shave this a little bit, clean it up. Now, put my drive shaft back together. Got to make sure I'm getting myself set right for proper phasing. It's going up, so that's going up. You're going out of my way. There we go. Drive shafts back together. Okay. You go there. You go here. Mount you back in. All right. Flip you back up. Clean up a little bit of excess paint here. Put my 25 millimeter rear cage bolts back in. I know you guys can't see a dang thing there. A little bit better, not much. Okay. Come in here. I can just go like this with it. Make it a little bit easier for the moment, so I ain't got to hold it up as well. All right, there we go. I'm going to tweak you back, make sure you're nice and tight. Sure, side piece here is tight. One more crank in on my shocks. I'm going to push this in a little better. Make sure she's fully seated there. Make sure the shock mounts are done. That's got to go in a little more. Let me take this back out. The side's pushed out just a little bit. Probably because there's still some schmutz back there, I think. So clean out this hole around it a little bit again. A little bit better anyways. There's still some stuff hanging out. Got to get trimmed off. Come on now. There we go. That's got most of it. There's a little spot right there still. Get rid of you. Okay. Now that's back into place. Should see it a little better. Still doesn't want to. How come? Probably because of the angle I got that thing drilled at. So let me back it back out. And I'll give it a little love run with the drill bit on a slightly downward angle. Just to kind of clear that pin out hole a little bit. Clean up my choof on the edge. There we go. Now let's put this back in. Now it's setting flush. Didn't quite have a good spot where it was getting quite flush. There we go. There we go. So now it looks a lot better. Both pieces are setting flush to this crossbar here. That raised up the shocks a little bit in the back. So let's see how she sets on our side hill or sideways stance. Yeah, she's lower in the back now. Still goes down all the way. Shocks bottom out before it hits anything. And there's closer, but still room there. Now I put the fuel cell back in. Before I do that, let me put my side plates back on. Go over here, out of my way. Find the hole. You go there. Okay, now this one goes here. There it is. There's the hole. Let go my wrencho. There we go. Okay. Okay. Put our fuel cell back in. Yeah, I can definitely see not necessarily a cable clip like you would use hold a RG6 TV cable or a fat cat line mounting to this because it's solid. You could cut a slot in the edge here and put your cable clip through it. Kind of come this way. The cable clip, put a slot right up in these two spots. Put a cable clip through there with the clip side, the flat side hanging to the inside, and then screw that right to your fuel cell, which would hold the front of the fuel cell and stop from being movie in the front. That may be the way to go, or maybe just a couple simple L brackets to go from this part, your top cross part, to the front of your fuel cell to help hold it. Because with rear steer, you're going to lose all your bottom support pieces. Your cross piece that actually screws to the bottom of your fuel cell is gone because you got to make room for the servo. My servo wire, I mean, is there too. I could probably get it to work, but this, well, maybe, but it's gonna have to mount like this. It usually mounts like such in this orientation, but you're gonna have to mount it like this so this part kicks back. Let me see if I can work this in here. Maybe we'll see if we can do it that way. It will bypass everything because it would be nice to have that mount. So I'm gonna get you up there, out of my way. And let's bring you up here. Oh, that's gotta come in this way. Those need to be upward. Oh, no, that is the wrong way. When I do it that way, it's got to go like that. So I had it right the first time. Derp. Orientation matters. Ooh. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. So I did. That's wrong. Got in the wrong spot. Trying to get it into the wrong spot. So if this goes like this, can this come over here? It looks like it's going to be able to. They may have actually designed this for this purpose. So you can still have your cross support in the lower part of the cage. So let's see how much it's going to be in the way here of the servo. Actually, that actually ain't bad at all. Let's see if I can get that in there like this and tightened in. All right, so you can use your cross support with rear steer. You just got to kind of rearrange the way it sits. So instead of the cross support moving upward, so to speak, your cross support points towards the front. It bows. Typically, originally it would bow upward. When you screw it in, the bend would come up towards the top of the cage area. With this setup, you turn it so it goes towards the front of the cage and not the top of it, but the front of the rig. And that clears all the way around it. At full extension, the servo wire is just barely hitting on the cross support. And when you go up, oh yeah, okay. There's that problem. So it's going to have to go upward. Might even have to trim the two fuel cell tabs off so this can twist a little bit. Let me see what I can do. That's a little too much. Back it just a smidge there. Trying to keep it off the fuel cell on that side and mount it in. Okay. Tighten you up. Set a slight angle now. See how that sets and works. Oh, something ain't right. Oh yeah, it's hitting the top of the thing for sure now. What are we hitting on there? Huh, I wonder if I put the wire below it, will that work any better? Let's see. How much is that getting in there? And it does push that wire out of the way, but it does allow it to go all the way up and in. I could zip strip the wire around the servo case so it's tucked tight to the servo case. That would work. And coming out the bottom, that allows it to go all the way in. So what we're looking at here, for anybody watching, you got your servo wire, at least on mine, your servo wire comes out. I put the cross brace back in here for the fuel cell. I thought you had to run without it. It'd be easy to run without it, but it's going to allow your bottom of your cage to be a little loose, flexible, maybe a little too much. So I'm trying to figure out the best place to run wiring because this reach servo comes out right at the top, and it's at the height where it's almost in line with where that servo unit mounts. And it's, actually pushing on it a little bit as it goes in. But if I pull the cable really tight to the cage, it's still hitting it. Boy, if they would have put that back, the mount for this fuel cell, if it would have moved not back, but forward towards the front of the cage, 3 millimeters, 5 would have been beautiful. Right where the cage bends, if that mount for this was there, that would have worked perfect because it's got the bosses for it and you can't move the bosses. And if you try to just drill a new hole, you can use a spacer, which you could do. I've got some black plastic spacers, a couple millimeters, that I could probably move that hole up there a little bit and shift that, and that's probably what I'm going to end up doing because it needs 3 to 4 millimeters to get that cross brace up out of the way. So I'm just going to take it out for now, leave it out of the way, and then I'll debate on whether I actually want to trim it out or not, or drill another hole in the bottom of the cage and move it. Probably don't. Don't want to put too many extra holes in and make things, more flexible, because it is plastic after all. So with that in there, that allows it to move. Go ahead and put this back around for now, just to keep it tied up. All right. All right. So yeah, this cross brace in there is in the way. So by taking it out, that allows you to get going. So this usually would come like this, mount in there, and these two screws mount to the spots in the bottom of the thing, of the fuel cell. So there's no real place to put it that way. No real way to do it like this in there. Is there? No, not really. So yeah, if that thing was, 4 or 5 millimeters farther forward for the fuel cell mount, which would mean your mount tabs would need to be 4 or 5 millimeters longer to reach the back of the fuel cell, or the front of the fuel cell, so to speak. That would work out great, because then you could put a rear steer system in here, mount your cross brace to the bottom of the chassis where it belongs, and it would allow you the clearance to get around the rear steer mount. Because as it is, when you put it in the normal orientation, it won't work, because you got to trim and move the cage and get you cut out essentially one of those mounts, and this is in the wrong orientation. It's got to set like this, so that servo mounts for the servo itself can slip in there, but this mount on the cage is too far towards the back of the cage, and it interferes with the servo mount mounted in that spot. But like I say, if it was moved forward, that whole boss system, 3 millimeters would be enough, and then maybe include a different cross support without the tabs, because you're gonna have to cut the tabs off, keep them out of the way, or maybe a different cross support system that has a setup that you could affix to the front side of the fuel cage to keep the fuel cage from flopping around. That may be a way to go, but we'll figure something out for that. And yeah, if this thing literally, if it was moved 3 to 4 millimeters forward to mount this lower cross brace in the cage, that would, with the, the embossed area, the I don't know what you want to call it, the inset area, this part here moving forward to the front of the cage, now your servo piece can slide right up in there. So yeah, that's what I'm going to end up doing. I'll end up finding a spot here, adding another mount hole, probably right about here, just right where it kind of comes off the bend, but it's going to be right there in a little bit. I might have to use a second little spacer just to add a little bit of room, but get this mounted in there, trim these tabs off just to have the extra support at the bottom of the cage. It doesn't need it much, but that's a lot of flex down there. Be nice to get rid of that. So food for thought, Vanquish, if you are doing revisions and you happen to see this video, which I ever doubt you will, but maybe, who knows, you might. This mount for the cage support piece, move that forward up underneath this support, or right at the inside of the support corner. Get the screw hole right in there, so this whole thing can shift forward in the cage, and that will give you just enough room to get your servo mount on your rear steer setups and your servo wire to not hit as it's passing through this plane right here, because right now where it mounts, if you mount it like that, you can, but your servo wire is going to be hitting and dragging that, and it's going to have to come up over, or if you got it underneath, it's to fully compress, it's going to have to bind and rub on the inside. 3 millimeters, 4 millimeters forward on the mount of this crossbar brace would clear all that problem and solve it all up and make it nice. So, all right, I like the way that grill's looking in there. That looks pretty good. So yeah, tomorrow I'll be able to solder, install a little bit of pieces, parts, get my soldering done, and then like I said, I'll have to finish installing a few stuff. I'll probably modify that piece here in a while. I'm going to do a little checking around and measuring. Oh goodness, got the hiccups. I'll snap pics and make everything, get good pics of everything so I can post those up. And then when I do my next video with this rig, probably tomorrow soldering possibly, I'll turn around and highlight what I did if I got to it by then. But for the rest of the day, I think I may just sit back and do some work on the Red Cat, on the RDS drift build. I got that kit to get going together because I can't do much else. I mean, I could do this modification, get that done, get the radiator mounted. I got to go through that. I'll probably save that for the next video. I just want to get the soldering done before I get too much fire, because I got to pull the cage back off essentially to do my soldering. So there ain't no use doing a heck of a lot more. Would be nice, like I say, to make a couple front mount pieces just to get that front shock mount maybe lifted a little bit so it sets a little bit more even to the back, because it does set up a little bit because of these overreach design shock mounts for the rear. That kicks it up just a little bit, not much, not too much, but 1/4 inch. You can see where the screw mount is, the black screw, compared to the actual shock mount. Kind of show you on a side view. You can see the screw here and the shock mounts in line with this bar now, where it would be up here on the screw, because that's where the shock typically would mount in the unit. Surprised they didn't do a dual capture and have you mount that shock on the inside here, so you could have dual shear mount points for it, like they kind of did here. But on the inside, we could have done that too. But anyways, there would have been room for that. So yeah, that's about all. I'm going to go ahead and finish this off and call it the time. Well, I'm going to have to clean that up, redo it. I smeared up my my 2-ball on my shifter. It looked really close, kind of hard to see, but I got an 8-ball for the long shifter and then a 2-ball for my high-low shifter, but it's all smudgy out, so I'm gonna have to kind of clean it. When I take the cage off, I'll clean that up a little bit. I'll touch up the paint, make it look better, so when I put the cage back on it, it's cleaned up. It looks a little bit nicer. But we are getting there. A few more parts, a few more pieces, some more scale bolts here and there, and it will be darn near ready to go. So everybody, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you checking it out. Appreciate you guys subscribing. Rocky Mountain Bashers, Urban Legend. Anybody else out there subscribe? Appreciate that. Hit the like, hit that share. And if you subscribe to me, I'm going to try to find you and subscribe back to you, so we can kind of help everybody's channel grow here a little bit and maybe get everybody enough to buy a couple rod ends once in a while. So thanks a lot. We'll talk to you guys later. Have a great one.